Hey guys, how's it going? Back at once again with a brand new video for you. Welcome to our 5th Formula 1 2012 team review, and this time we're taking a look at the Mercedes team. Their car, their double DRS system, their mechanical issues, and of course the seasons of their two drivers, 7-time world champion, and his final year in Formula 1 for Michael Schumacher, until he pulls a Brett Favre and comes back sometime in 2015. And Nico Rosberg, who after 7 years and a whole host of mediocrity, still seems to get a free pass from the media. Weird. We'll break that down over the course of the review. So without further ado, let's take a look first of all at the final year of Michael Schumacher. So what do we make of the final year of Michael Schumacher? Let's be honest here, and I know a lot of Schumacher fans might end up killing me for saying this, it wasn't that special. Didn't have a race win, didn't have a pole position. The one podium finish he had was the 3rd place in Valencia. He finished with 49 points in total for 13th in the World Drivers' Championship. He was in the lower half of the standings. Didn't even make the top half of the table. And probably the biggest reason for this was his retirements. He was joint league leader in retirements with Romain Grosjean with 8. Not all of them were his fault. A couple of them were definitely his fault, though. The crashes against Senna in Catalonia and John-Eric Verne in Singapore seems to be his bogey circuit these days. You just can't finish around Singapore. But, I mean, the Mercedes car, which obviously we'll get to later on, definitely had its fair share of issues. I mean, the fuel pressure issue in Monaco, and the pit crew let him down in China when he started from the front row. I mean, the gearbox failure in Australia was another one, but overall, Michael Schumacher just in general wasn't that spectacular this year. Seemed to have a lot of low point scoring finishes in the end, like a lot of 7ths and 8ths, a 10th. Kind of like just pooped out the rest of the year, like a lot of 11ths to 16th places as well. And, you know, the Great Master kind of bowed out on a whimper rather than a sprint. And, yeah, I mean, with Lewis Hamilton coming in next year, it's kind of like he declared his retirement to say, I might as well jump before I'm pushed here. So, really, nothing special for Michael Schumacher at all this year. And, you know, it's kind of a sad way for a legend to say goodbye to the sport. But, you know, unfortunately, it just wasn't his year at all. Michael Schumacher, the end of an era. How about teammate and partner in crime Nico Rosberg? Well, he had a slightly better year. This was the year he finally had his maiden pole and win around China. He broke that duck and the monkey off his back after all the years of being the next big thing. He had another podium finish after his 2nd place in Monaco and ended up with 93 points. However, the problem with him was that Mercedes' performance just dipped after the halfway point of the year. Again, I've done this before. If you divide and look at the 1st and 2nd half of the year, Rosberg, through Germany, had 76 points for the first half of the year. He had 17 points the last 10 races. And in fact, he didn't score a single point for the last 6 races of the year. Yeah, 3 of them were retirements, but still, he struggled to get in the points, and his performance would tend to dip. And that is why I have to drop Rosberg's grade down a few notches as well, because the 2nd half of the year, he just didn't exist. Mind you, most of the Mercedes team didn't exist after halfway through either, because the other mid-car teams passed them by. But I'll get to that in the car section of the review. Rosberg now has a fresh chance to prove himself, because he's now got an elite driver as a partner next to him in Lewis Hamilton for next year, which is bound to be very interesting. But overall, this was a very average year for Nico Rosberg, considering a driver of his ability and the car that he was in. Ultimately finished with 93 points and 9th in the World Drivers' Championship. And I think for a guy of his ability, I think even he would have to say he's capable of better. Nico Rosberg, must try harder. See me after class. So how about the car? Well, Mercedes started pretty strong. They were qualifying well. Obviously, they had the big result with Nico Rosberg in China. Probably one of the most dominant wins of the whole year was when he pulled away from the field while Schumacher and the massive train behind him and, you know, all fought for those podium places while Kimi Raikkonen's tyres fell off the cliff. But after that, and as time progressed, their car just seemed to deteriorate. They'd have mechanical issues where, you know, like things like the fuel pressure thing in Monaco and the gearbox failure and things like that, where those little things stopped them from really, you know, gaining big points when they had the chance to cash them in because they were qualifying so well. And when the second half of the year came around, the mid-car teams really stepped up their development, while Mercedes had the double DRS system failure. I think I'm right in saying the second half of the year, teams like Force India, teams like Toro Rosso, and teams like Sauber were clearly looking faster, better, more developed, and were stealing points off of their guys like Rosberg and Schumacher. So I think they ultimately just fell behind where the big guys really were, and that is what ultimately cost Mercedes so many points, and as a result, they were completely blown apart by Lotus, you know, their biggest rivals and nearest team to them in terms of competition, on an almost 2-to-1 scoring basis. Quite frankly, Mercedes were lucky not to be pegged back by Sauber. This is a team that has clearly gone backwards this year, and that's why they went and bent over backwards to get Lewis Hamilton in for next year. Will he be able to turn the corner for Mercedes, a team who to this day haven't got that much of a racing pedigree? We'll have to wait and see. But it's going to be very interesting to watch Mercedes in 2013 with Hamilton and Rosberg amongst that team, a pair of very, very strong drivers. Let me know what you thought of Mercedes below. I'm not actually sure which team is up next. I think it's Sauber was next in the WCC, so I think they're up next. If not, it's definitely Force India. But until then, I'm in Harris101. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Sayonara.